Welcome to Dental Unscripted, where Mike Dinsio and Paula Quinn break down the practice ownership journey, one episode at a time. Starting up, buying, and running a successful dental practice.
Hey guys, welcome back to another podcast with Dental Unscripted. Name's Mike Dinsio, Paula Quinn, co-star today and always. Today we got a unique episode in that, we talk a lot about marketing over the last 5 years. All the podcasts that we've done, it's all about getting more phone calls, more patients, more views, more clicks, more everything, right? But what we don't talk about is the 1 yard miss, which is if you do get the call, how is your conversion? Are you actually taking advantage of the opportunities coming into the office? Oftentimes we hold our marketing companies so responsible for the success of how many new patients, but they are not responsible for picking up the phone, patient experience, missed calls, all the things, misquoting people, saying just the wrong things. And I think that is the X factor of marketing. So today is all about marketing from the inside. And be relying a lot on my two colleagues today, Paula, who's owned a practice and has experienced that herself firsthand, and Guido with Market My Market. Guido, welcome to the program. Thanks for being on, buddy.
Welcome, Guido.
Tell us a little bit about Market My Market before we get going. I think our audience knows you, but you've been on the program before.
I'll give the elevator pitch.
You're very unforgettable. But why don't you tell us anyways?
Yeah, I think what we're sort of being known for is that we do these pretty amazing demographic studies we don't charge for, which we kind of use to decide, do we want to take you as a client? I think where everybody else is like, yeah, I'll take your money and go with there. I like to be pretty honest and transparent. And, not everyone's a good fit because we might have too many people in that market. We might not just be able to hit what that dentist's goals are. And I think transparency is key. I just don't want a client to have you as a client where you're going to be unhappy and leave in 6 months. So it really comes down to, can I do what you want? What does that market look like? Is it even possible? Is it even possible to hit the goals that you want? Mm-hmm. And that kind of drives the marketing strategy and how we devise, like whether you should run paid or mailers, or it's all strictly organic, or whatever the medium we're going to use to attract clients for you is.
I love that. Thank you. That's great. And we've seen you work your magic with our offices, and excited to have you on the program.
Nice.
So where do you guys want to take this, Paula? Like in my mind, like I said, a lot of the offices just mess this up, and there's a lot of statistics that back that up. But you've seen it firsthand. What are you seeing in the office that just is not getting the job done? And it is the X factor from a marketing perspective. Customer service, basic customer service.
Well, first when I start looking at marketing and if it's working in a practice, I like to look at it 3 different ways. And I think this is where I find out, is it the front office, or is it the dentist, or is it the marketing company? So the first thing I told you earlier when the last episode, I even went on a feel. Oh, it's not working. Not enough people. So I think the marketing company has a responsibility to drive leads to the office. That's pretty much their responsibility. Sometimes those are good leads, sometimes they're bad leads. But even when someone challenges me with, well, those patients weren't good patients, I would have to know all the detail before I would agree with that, right? We can't just, oh, yeah, they just came for the coupon. I had a mailer in my practice, and we won't tell them exactly how much, but I was in downtown Phoenix in a bit of a rough area, and I had to market to that demographic.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no problems converting. I had no problems with every Uber I got in. The next day, they were my patient coming in. True story, Guido. I think 50% of my practice were my Uber drivers.
That's great.
And you know, they didn't have insurance. They're part-time, you know, so
Right.
you know, insurance, no problem, was really big in my practice. So I guess what I'm saying is the first thing is, are there people calling your practice? We have to measure that first, and how do they care about you? The second thing is there treatment to diagnose? If there's never any treatment, we might have a diagnosing problem. Are we being too conservative? Everybody's not healthy. And let's say they don't have decay, they probably have perio. There's something, okay? Or let's just get them rescheduled at least for their 6-month recare.
for the X-ray and cleaning.
Yes. So there's that. And then the second thing is, if there is diagnosing, is the patient saying yes? Because this is where, is there leads coming? Do we convert them to a patient? Is there opportunity with that patient? And then is the patient saying yes? So for me, there's so much, is the marketing team is to get the leads to call. The front office is to convert the patient. The doctor is to diagnose the treatment. And then the rest of the team is, how do we get the patient to say yes and move forward? So
there's a lot of people in play here, and we can say that my market sucks and they're not doing their job, but really what I just heard is they're a third of the process. There's the call, then there's the front office, then there's the doctor. So tracking is what I heard you kind of say there. What are some so we got to figure out who the problem
we can't just say it's not working.
Yeah,
we got
who's the problem?
Where is the problem? Where is it's not even who, it's where is there a mishap or a gap in the system? Because
so I think it starts too, right, with volume, right? You have to get the phone string, which is number one. And then number two, what are they saying on the phones, right? Because I think you brought up something too, which is the diagnosing or whatever too, but like there's ways, like we use an analytics tool that we did too, that uses AI that attributes value to the call. So if you call Paula and you're like, I need a cleaning, that's a hygiene call. And then you say, I take Delta Insurance, we tag 2 important pieces of information along with the person that answered the call. So now when we meet, I can say, or look on the back end of your software, did that person come in and did they become a client and how much were they worth? Right. So it's total that, like, a lot of dentists only look at this part of the funnel, what you see, which is what's hitting your books, right? Your revenue at the end of the month, right? It starts with how much potential revenue are you generating, right? We generated 100 calls and 20 of them are hygiene, 5 of them are ortho, 5 of them are implants. Like maybe there's 100,000 in revenue generated, but we only closed 20. There's a gap, which is where you guys come in, because I can give you that data to go over with them and be like, is it what we're saying? Is it the treatment coordinator with how they're presenting, like payment structures? There's so many factors, like you said, but it starts here.
But most doctors,
even if you drive an ortho to my practice, is there other opportunity? I mean, before I put ortho on your face, I want your teeth clean. I want your foundation strong. If you have a crown, we may look at it. It just depends on where you are, but it's also just because you drive an ortho patient to my practice doesn't mean I can't convert them to a full comprehensive patient as well. So there's all,
I mean, I know the doctors. I'm in the offices. I have the conversations every day. They don't know any of this. It's all feeling. And so that's why I have this up, is tracking is key, right? So maybe we should talk about how to even track and figure this out.
Well, I mean, Guido just kind of said, if you're using Market My Market, they have a component where tracking calls come into the office is pretty easy.
So let's start there. Guido,
everybody has it. They all have tools that track calls and transcribe conversations.
But the problem is the front office never puts it in the little source slot. So we don't even know.
You can't rely on human behavior. I'm going to tell this number one. People are lazy. They're always going to put Google or recommendation or whatever to do. It's got to start with tracking numbers that assess where the lead is coming from too. And then there's a second component to it too, because like someone might say, hey, Guido, I heard about you from Dr. or my friend, whatever. And that's a referral, but then they still found you on the Google business profile. So I'm going to still give credit for the referral, but I'm going to show that the reviews on the profile pushed it down the pipeline. So they called them up.
Generated from.
Right. So there's multiple attributions that we have to look at. But again, the transcription on the call says that was a referral. That was the main way that they got to you. Right. Mm-hmm. So you have to look at that, and you cannot rely on humans to tell you that. There's no way they're going to get it right. And if you do that, you're doing that again, what you just said. I feel like, I think, like, no way. Right. You can't run a multi-million-dollar practice on how I think things are coming in. Yeah. So, there's a million tools out there that does this.
Well, yeah, I usually there's a book called Love and Logic for children. If you don't have it for your kids, you should look at it. And basically it's kind of like, if you tell them to turn the bathroom light off 500 times, it doesn't happen. Just for your own peace of mind, just take the light bulb out, until, you can work through that. So it's the consequence meets the action. It's not driving yourself crazy. So I probably spend the first quarter with a client and even digitally, there's components out there now where we're using communication software that will auto populate it, but there's some work to map that and make sure that what referral sources are in our system are correct. I think I spend a quarter, if not 6 months, just trying to get that to happen. It is
getting the right resources.
But if we can get that dialed in, and hopefully that automated, we now need to pay attention to that report on, if not a weekly basis, definitely a monthly basis. The reason I like weekly is because at the end of the month, it's too late to pivot. And marketing sometimes takes.
It's too much what you're saying.
You don't want to too quick.
It does, but like a monthly call is an eternity for a dentist and a startup. Think about it. Like everything that can happen in a month is an absolute eternity. If you're, like Michael said, you're stressed, you've only been open, you have no people coming in, like it's got to be more frequent, so you can pivot and make changes.
And also too, I mean, just think about it. Just think if you referred 3 people and you came in the next day to get something. I would want to be able to say, Guido, thank you so much for, sending your friends and family my way. Even that is huge. So it's really paying attention to those referral sources. Then it's those reports it's running where those sources came from. So let's say that, 10 of them came from a mailer. We'll just throw that out there for ease.
Right.
Now, what was the opportunity of the diagnosis with those 10 patients? And then of those 10 patients, if we diagnosed 30,000, right there, we paid for it. However, how many converted to yes? And if they didn't convert to yes, that's more of an enrollment conversation. That's an internal, what was the patient experience like for a patient?
I love that. I don't track that today. I don't know if you do.
I do.
Guido, but it's tracking marketing sources by how much was diagnosed.
We only have that if the doctor gives us access, which half the time they're like in their own little world and you push them for stuff.
But imagine a world.
Yes.
Well, yes. And then it's, did they say yes? And that's again, a handoff patient experience thing. And then the last component is that follow-up, because not everybody says yes same day. So then you have to have.
Well, you bring up an interesting thing too. So that's right. Right. Or think about how many people have come in over the past year and they're like, I'll think about it. And you never touch base or send them a follow-up or something like, oh, and by the way, now Cherry has a special where we're affordable. Maybe their finances changed. Stuff like that is marketing too. It's like you're remarketing to your own like group, not just, hey, by the way, come in for your, 6-month appointment and get a cleaning or whatever it is. Also, I think you bring up a really good thing. So we always ask what's the lifetime value of a patient, right? Not like what that initial thing is because everybody is so focused on new patients, right? But like if you're always in that churn and burn mentality, then that's what you're going to get, right? You need new patients, but do you really need 40 new patients every month? Or do you need like maybe half that come in 3 times a year? You tell them you need a crown or an implant, they're going to do it. So the lifetime value is a lot higher. They don't know that, or even forget lifetime. Go back to just a year. What is a patient worth to you in a year?
Yeah.
Right? Because
Well,
then I have some real metrics to work off of.
We did
we have all that for our clients. That's what we love is
we
tracking that stuff.
we did a podcast with Marie Chatterley, I don't know, a minute ago, and I asked her as a practice broker. I said, "Hey, Marie, what should buyers be asking themselves uh, before buying a practice?" And she goes, "Well, I'll tell you what they do ask and what they should ask." And I'm like, "Oh, interesting." And so what all the buyers are asking is how many new patients. And she says, and what they should be asking is how
How
many
many of
patients.
those are on the schedule?
Yeah, like how many active patients are there, and what your reappointment rates are,
It's not
because
even active. It's how many of those active patients
are
actually
on the
have the
schedule.
next appointment.
Yes. Well, that's
Yeah.
the point. That's the point. So like if you're not good at reappointing patients, Guido could send you 50 patients, but 50 patients go right out the door and you need 50 more patients.
Right. Or what did we talk about on the last podcast? We talked about new patient specials. Like, let me tell you something. There's nothing like cheapening your product and being like, I have a $59 special. Number one, do I want to really go see a dentist that charges $59? I mean, really think about it. I mean, to me,
It
you're like
depends
just
on
telling
the
me you're
area.
like,
It
right. But
depends.
not only that, who are you going to attract for that? Someone that's like literally going to come in once and never going to come back to you. So what was the point?
I
To
don't believe
generate,
that. I don't believe that to be
100,000
true, though. I think there are communities in certain areas that are afraid and of cost and afraid of the dentist. And if you can get them in the door and earn their trust and they can understand what the consequences of just avoiding us altogether is, you can turn patients that come in on those lower dollars. I've seen it. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. So I get though the masses. You're absolutely right. But I do think there are specific areas in each community, city, whatever state that can benefit off of those areas where it can kind of help the more underserved.
To that point, Paula, to that point, like my question is customer service or next level service or white glove service. Um, how would you, I mean, there's 100 ways to define it, but like, how would you describe a good and better than good customer service experience from
Mm.
a marketing lead, right? Because I just think that we go into offices all day long, and I would frankly call it a below average rating. If I'm sitting at the when we do our office observations, and I'm sitting at the front desk, and you're usually in the back, just the interaction that I'm watching is embarrassing. I'm sure it's the same in the back for you. So how would you describe what a good experience should be for offices to get the most out of these new patients?
Well, I know it's almost impossible in today's world, but not too long ago, I used to teach this where if you have a designated new patient specialist, I mean that would be amazing. And if that new patient specialist could be in a private area, that would be even more amazing. I used to joke and I would say, listen, when you're on a call with a patient, especially a new patient, stick a red flag right in front of you so that everyone knows do not talk to this person because it's inevitable in a practice. You're like sitting here trying to focus, and someone's like, and you're like, get away, you're like, and then you pause in your conversation or you lose your flow or you're not listening to the last 6 things that new patient just said to you, which could have been the most important things they say. So if there is a way to identify when you're on a call, honestly, with any patient, people should be courteous. But when it's a new patient, especially, they don't know you, they don't have that rapport with you. They could have just gotten you off the, the internet, so that it wasn't even referred by. But I think undivided attention, do not put them on hold. Do not start talking to somebody else. Thank them, first of all, for choosing your practice, and listen to why they're calling first before you go straight to, I mean, when I walk into a medical office, they're like, insurance card, and I'm like, oh my God, hello, hey, how are you?
Exactly.
Hey, the weather's beautiful. Like, there's no rapport. So I think it's honestly, I mean, people know this, but it's really undivided attention, being appreciative that they've chosen your office, and then that getting
I love
what
that.
is most important to them off the phone call first. And then you'll get a chance to go into your insurance spiel and your time of day spiel and all of that stuff. Um, so I think it's experience, it's feeling heard, it's feeling cared about, it's feeling that listened to. All those things is what you have to start the conversation.
I love, we should get little flags that say new patient call. and they and because it could just be,
Put it on
hey,
your head, because they're not going to see it if it's on your desk.
I love that. Like a beanie hat, cone hat, new patient call. Don't bother me, because you're right. Intentionality is everything in
You
this
see,
world.
and then you see your front office all day long. She just has it on. So no, so no
Exactly.
one bothers her. You're like, wait, that's a 10th new patient call we've had today. This is awesome.
Okay, so we're talking about picking up the phone and being intentional. Guido, do you have any statistics on missed calls? Because I have some.
Yeah, I mean, like, so
That's
there's
the most
not even just,
aggravating statistic.
yeah, it's not even just missed calls. So we see a couple trends that like go on. So number one, if a call is under 2 minutes, the probability of converting is pretty much zero, which means like you're being very transactional. Do you take my insurance? Yes or no?
Nope.
You're not saying anything about, like, let me tell you about the practice, the doctor. Let me tell you how dental insurance works. It's nothing. It's just like, hello, do you take my insurance? Click, they're gone, right?
Well, I've heard that.
So,
When we were in that office not too long ago, they called and just said that exact same thing, and she said no and hung up, and I was like, what
just happened?
It happened right in
yeah.
front of me, Guido, right in front of me.
Well, because I think a lot of like, they think the job is to answer a question, and that's what they want to do. And in answering a question,
They
to
didn't
take
know they just
insurance,
turned away.
no, but it's not really insurance.
They don't
So
know
that's
they
not the right.
turned away something the doctor paid for, right? Like, I just paid for that call, and you just told him no.
Right. So that's totally the wrong thing too. I think the other thing is that you need to look at some other things too, like how many rings before you pick up, especially if you're fee for service. Like if you don't pick up on the third ring, you better have some AI that picks up and sets an expectation, right? Mm-hmm. Also, there's usually patterns between missed calls with like usually like people taking lunches or not managing breaks correctly. We've noticed too. And again, you may not be open on a Friday, but why shouldn't your phones ring? Like I could call on a Friday to book on a Monday. Like what the heck's that about? Or at least have some sort of like, automatic thing that's like, we'll get back to you by X, because people don't have attention anymore. They're going to move right on, and especially if you're a new practice and you don't really have a ton of reviews to back you or whatever else you need in that market. So those are the things too. In terms of like missed calls, I mean, it should be really slim, like 3% should be missed. That's like the goal. I mean, when I start to see patterns like that, it makes me very nervous, like something's going on. Also, software can track talk time between you and the patients, because if you're the one predominantly talking, that's not good either. You're not being a good listener or interacting. And that you can track with the problem. Like, because usually, again, if you're starting up, you have one person answering the phone. Maybe it's you. You see a lot of like spouses filling that role temporarily too, which isn't always probably the best. So, but I mean, there's an art to answering phones. That's the face of the office and the first person you interact with, right? The other things we notice too is like you should track what that person's closing ratio is. So because there is definitely a correlation between how you answer the phone and that person coming in and doing a treatment plan. Like we see that. So that's why we ask and we assign value to calls and see like if all three of us are on, is Guido a better closer? Is Paula the best closer? Because if she is, Paula should be answering the majority of phone calls, not Guido and Mike. Right. You should have the hat on. Right, exactly.
I bet you most offices don't know who those people are. They
don't even know. They don't even know the phone ring.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Or the phone tree. or like what that looks like answering phones is an art, It's like everyone invests in a lot of other things, but like, that is the first point of contact and your first impression and whatever it may be too,
And the biggest part of the art is really just caring. Like Guido said, you cannot be transactional. It's, thank you for calling the office.
If you're like, I'm in so much pain, I need to come in, and you're like, oh, we can't fit you in for 3 weeks. Like, I don't think you had a very good experience, but this happened. Or like, there's so many examples of this, but it's not like there's different variations of this. So again, I think having a playbook, and we can do this too with like frequently asked questions and how to answer those, because it's not like it's a new insurance question, but to be able to role play that, right. We can role play. I'm great at this.
Let's write a playbook for that. And
write a play. Well, we sort of kind of do, and give it to our consultants, whoever is there also, because again, using AI, we can find frequently asked questions, where the gaps are, what insurances are being said, which ones are like no call, no shows. So that can kind of drive your training. I don't want to do that training, but I can hand it off to you, who will absolutely take that over and be able to have a much better way of doing that. And then specifically, you could say like, Michael is doing X, Y, and Z, and here are the calls, and here's the pattern. So let's start role playing how to correct that and have like a cheat sheet. So when someone says this, you say this. So the closings get better. But, it all again comes down to like, who is sort of in charge of this sector, right?
Well, I think that's kind of where we're at. And that kind of puts an end cap on this episode, is that we could literally talk about this for 2 hours on scenarios and different things, missed call statistics, all kinds of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not just the marketing company's responsibility for your new patient count. If there's anything you took away from this episode, it's that. And the dental office has not only, they have a lot of power or a lot of influence to convert patients to the schedule and sell them treatment. And that's a huge piece of the ROI puzzle, a huge piece. And those that do it better make more money and get better patients, better results. So with that being said, guys, really lively episode. Thank you both for contributing. That's a wrap on our 3-part series today. Thank you, Guido, for making the time for us today.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure.
Bye.
Thanks so much, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Let us know how you like the show. Rate us on Apple and Spotify. Subscribe and follow for more.